Hi guys, I hope you've seen my video, my first subscriber battle ever, because in this video we're going to analyse the games from that tournament that we held just earlier today. So I've organised these tabs in order of simplicity to like some of the more complicated games. So just to start us off nice and easy, this game I'm just gonna. There's a lot of moves to go on, so I can't go through every single move. But this game, white wins a pawn, pushes towards the centre here, pushes the bishop back with a nice tempo, creates a nice strong centre. So this knight is now pinned, and white takes and wins the pawn here. So now there was a little tactic, and now you can see it. You can see this is going to emerge. I checked through this game before, and yeah, here it comes. Yeah, the queen king fork, and I think there's a couple more moves, but we'll leave it there. So well played to those two. There is a few of these games which involve me, but a lot of these are just my loyal subscribers. So here, I think it ended with another tactic, which just won the game. So here, white piles up the pressure on this pawn, and trades, and here check. And this is just a beautiful fork of the rook and king, except I think this was missed. Black obviously could have taken, but that was a cheeky win from white, a very probably undeserved win from white, but we take all these wins, don't we, guys? So in this game, between Daniel and no one is the same as me, things kicked off with e4, d4, we get captures in the centre, and then white has a nice bit of development and a nice bit of pressure on this knight here. So black probably plays this. Okay. So now black defends this. White attacks the semi-pinned piece. And I think, yeah, that was the best move. I also looked at this, but this was best. Black wins a pawn back. White tempos the queen, and here we see the fatal error with the fork available, winning the queen. And I think there's a couple more moves, but once the queen is won, that game's over. So in this one, we get an English, I believe. And what goes on here? So we've got a bit of pressure, pinned piece. We've got this threatening to come in. Because if here we cannot take, because then if the pawn landed itself on this square, it would win the knight, because the knight is pinned. So this is a slight threat. Black choosing to just relieve the tension. Well, there's a little bit of tension on white's position with this. Black obviously didn't want to go back and invite this, which is fair enough, but often you want to keep the bishops on the board if you can. So white goes for a queen trade. Black, I'm not sure what this move does, if I'm honest, but I like the way black realised his queen was defended and, you know, didn't need to give white the tempo. White, I mean, black could have maybe castled or done something to improve the position a bit more than this move, but so yeah, nice move from white. This bishop's got a lot of pressure on the position. You want to kick it back. And then here we get a very funny idea from no one is the same as me. So this is a common trap in chess where, well, first of all, the knight hits the rook. So, but this is a common theme, right? Undefended piece attacked. What do? Black gives white another undefended piece to attack, which guarantees that they're going to lose a piece, really, in a lot of situations. So just be really careful, guys. If you have got an undefended piece, don't give your opponent another piece that they can attack. Often you just dig yourself a deeper hole. So, yeah, like I say, two undefended pieces, white just wins one of them. And then black saying that if white takes, that black is going to have this big attack down the H file. But with the queens off the board, it's actually not so strong an attack. And this is a beautiful move which just clarifies the game for white. Gets a trade on the board, damages the structure slightly, and after this, yeah, there's no way this attack's going to work. The king's got a balcony, the rook's hit, everything's falling apart for black. So next, we're getting into slightly more complicated games here. So I wanted to just take a little bit more time. So this is all pretty normal. Well, could this have been taken? No, this is all, I think this is all solid. And until this point, what is this? Why doesn't black move the knight? What's going on here? Yeah, like black has to move the knight, right? Yeah, white could have taken. But I do like the way white just decided to develop a piece and realizing that this is sufficiently defended. And then white develops the queen into the game. Decides to take the bishop for the knight, which is often a good trade. Although in this case, it does open the rook up. White drops a pawn there, but black doesn't notice, so white gets away with that one. Daniel gets away with it. And so is Daniel up a pawn here? A few pawns. Yeah, and I didn't know what this move was all about. It gives up a few points of material, we can see. It just lost a knight. I didn't get the thinking behind that, but it wasn't good. So yeah, white very correctly going for trades. They're up a couple of pawns, and they're looking pretty good. So white getting the checks in. And a few... Wow, that's a great move. So yeah, you lose the knight, but you win the rook. Pinning the knight there for a second. Black has to get out of it, otherwise white's going to come in, attack the pin piece, which is a common theme. So black gets out of this pin. And white, I think, a sort of remnant from realizing this was pinned, white had planned, if the king had not moved, white was going to push the pawn, and that would have won the knight. I said this, but actually also the pawn push was good. So white still plays this idea. Even though the knight is no longer pinned, and then falls victim to this fork. White's still slightly better here, just a couple more pawns, and wins that one. And while black does have an active king, yeah, white has this little tactic to clean things up, and this is just one for white because white is just going to shoulder the black king away from the pawns and go win these pawns. But actually, the engine here says that white is only 2 pawns up. I'd have thought this is completely winning. So let's just test this out. So if best move. So that's to take the opposition and shoulder the king. So I'd go like this. So white just continues to shoulder. And now surely... Now white is winning. The engine just doesn't realise it at this point. Yeah, the white king is always going to shoulder the black king there. So now, Daniel versus OK Chess Player. This was a bit of a complicated one, I believe. Now, this is an immediate red flag to me by Daniel, who actually won the tournament. There was a little bit of controversy about who actually won, because I accidentally didn't play a game. But Daniel certainly... in the top two or three players. It was very close between the top 3. So here there's an absolute... I just don't know what this is. It just hangs a... No, it doesn't. I was thinking it hangs a knight, but it doesn't. This defends. It's just a very strange move. I can't get my head around it. I think it's just not a move I'd play because it looks so open to like attack. Like, it's so easy for a pawn to push and come annoy the knight. But it just wanted to win that knight, I guess, which is fair enough. Again, this bishop here is just a red flag. It's just blocking your pawns in. Therefore blocking this bishop in. Therefore stopping your castle in. It's just a thorn in your development. So that queen trade probably favours black given this issue in developing. Taken towards the centre, which is generally best. A pawn in the centre is always going to be worth more than a pawn on the outside of the board. Okay, so white goes for a trade, black accepts. And here, black is just simplifying. I think black is a bit better here, yeah. But pretty even. So white, I like this, getting the king active. Going to be important in these close endgames. Black doing the same. So white wins a pawn there. I noticed there's this tactic to maybe win that pawn and get your rook on the 7th rank, or the second in this case. So here this is semi-pinned, and black here with a pass pawn, with maybe another one in the future here, and with the bishop over the knight, and with the more active king. This combination of factors, I think, just makes black considerably better. The engine actually says that white isn't too much worse, but I disagree. I think under time pressure, this is going to be a win for black 9 times out of 10. What actually happens here? Let's see if I'm right. Oh yeah, okay. So black sacrifices, knowing that a knight on the edge of the board is pretty useless against 3 pass pawns. Knights are notoriously bad for stopping pass pawns, whereas a bishop, say on this square, on b7, a bishop could cut across the diagonal, and along with the king, a bishop could really work hard to stop the pawns pushing, whereas a knight is just, it's going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 moves to try and stop a pawn, and even then there's 3 pawns coming. And I think black is completely won here. And this is the crucial move. Black should have played this first, because this square is always the key square. Just getting on either the 2nd or the 7th rank with your king, with a pawn to the right or left of it, is just always winning. So that, and now the white king cannot influence these squares, and the pawn will just walk to promotion. Okay, so this is me versus Daniel. So this is where there was some controversy. Was there a mouse slip? Wasn't there? I do believe Daniel. I think there probably was. He was actually beating me for a good portion of this game. Solid player. So this is all pretty normal, I think. Bit of pressure on this pawn here. So Daniel's white. So Daniel putting some pressure here. I try and kick the bishop out. We get a trade. And now Daniel, almost like he could read my mind. I was saying this whole time, I was like, oh no, this pawn's weak. This pawn's weak. And Daniel straight away attacking the weakened pawn. And I'm thinking, oh, I need to reinforce this pawn with a rook. So I get the castles in. And Daniel starts pushing these pawns down the board. So I get that trade, hitting the queen. And then Daniel trying to win this pawn. And this whole time I'm saying, this is a threat because this pawn is pinned. Because if this pawn takes, the queen falls. And I forget, and I move my bishop back. And of course, Daniel comes straight in with the knight, threatening the queen. There's an exchange. And I'm sort of forced to trade here because there's too much pressure on this pawn. And say I retreat with the queen, this pawn falls anyway. So I thought my best bet there was to go for the exchange of queens and try and swindle Daniel in the end game, which I managed to do. So here, Daniel goes for an exchange of rooks. Really, really instructive. He's winning. He's got a better position. I've got a doubled pawn structure. 3 isolated pawn islands. Daniel is winning this endgame. So I look to complicate things. So this is pretty instructive. I say, no, I'm not trading. I'm going to try and complicate it somehow. Daniel defends the pawn. And I know that my only chance in this is if I can get my king super active, get to this square here and maybe cut his king off from having any activity. So here I'm happy that I isolate one of Daniel's pawns. And then I like this move to hit the rook, but then it does lose this pawn. I grab that, get the trade of rooks. Losing this, but we have a super active king. And there's no way for Daniel to hold on to this pawn. And at this point, I'd love to see what the engine says here, actually. It says it's pretty drawish, I think. Yeah, and then, so this is where there was the controversy about, was this a mouse slip? Did Daniel forget that this pawn was defending this rook? No, I think it was a mouse slip, and yeah, I take the rook and it's over. But great game, Daniel, and well done with the tournament. Played really good. He left me a lovely comment actually saying it was due to me that he's been winning, which is very silly. you clicked the buttons, you did it. Like, give yourself some credit. So here, what is this game? Wait, where were we? All right, so let's start again. So it's Sicilian. Oh, this is me against no one is the same as me. So the queen gets hit. Okay. Trying to work out what's going on. All right, so a bit of pressure there. We don't like it. We kick the bishop out. And here, I don't get it. This just wasn't sound. Let's just make sure the engine agrees with me. Yeah, you just have to get the bishop out of danger. Simple as that. And now this did get a bit complicated, considering. Yeah, and this was a massive mistake that I pointed out in the game. That really, there was so much pressure on my position with these two pieces pinned, and this knight could have just unhinged the position somehow, I think. Maybe loading up on this. You know, I might have defended, but with another rook coming, I think white was probably winning there. But with this backwards knight move, pinning it, yeah, I just attacked the piece. That was a great find. I should have seen that. And yeah, I'm glad I found that move. I had to get out of this pin and this pin on that square. So that was the crucial move. And I think from there, yeah, the engine analysis agrees. I'm better. Aha. Oh. The engine's saying this actually wasn't so bad. I thought that was bad at the time. But yeah, there was some issues here with the rook. So I guess that sacking of the rook resolves those issues. So here, yeah, we're just loading up on this square, and it's the simplification process from here. And finally, guys, this is the game where I really need the engine analysis, because at the time, I didn't know what was going on. I'd been commentating and playing chess for an hour, and I was just getting super tired. I know you all had been playing for an hour as well, but yeah, you got to know your own brain, and personally, my mind was going at this point. So this was, I just want to point this out. Let me just get a sip of water, sorry guys. Right. This was a really bad move. And the engine agrees. Yeah, this is the advanced French with this pawn, these pawns here. And this is stifling Black's dark square bishop in particular. And Black has to find this move to allow the bishop out, to try and undermine this structure and allow the knight out and get castled. I'm surprised it's only a pawn loss, this move. It just cramps Black's whole position. And I play this sort of similar move, but on the other side of the board, trying to get my bishop out. And here, I lost a couple of points. I realised after I should have gone back. But I like the idea of this hitting the pawn. That was my thinking at the time. And I like that breaking in the centre towards the black king. That's a good strategic thing to do. And this threatens taking the pawn and then mate. So Black has to defend the mate here. And all I wanted at this point was tempo, so I could try and get this move in and try and bring a rook and just mate him. And I thought this was bad because I thought after this that helps him develop. But actually it's just a pinned piece. And the queen has to defend, so it's actually pretty awkward for Black. And I should have seen that. But I thought that this capture here was compliant with Black's wishes, but it wasn't. It created an awkward position for him. Sorry guys, I realise I might be spending a little bit longer on my games than other people's. Sorry if that's the case. This was a particularly interesting game though, to be fair. So yeah, the engine's saying black should sack here because this pawn is so strong. And this is where it gets embarrassing, guys. Like I say, this was like an hour into the tournament, and yeah, I missed quite a few mates here. Wait, the analysis doesn't say so. I thought this, when I looked at this back, I thought here, wait, I thought this was mate. Because if this, then mate. And if this, then mate. Yeah, so I missed this idea of pushing the pawn, sacrificing it to give this lovely back rank idea with the queen cutting off these squares. I missed this like 4 times, so let's see what I actually did. I instinctively, under time pressure, I went for the fork, which I can sort of forgive myself for. But that was pretty bad. I thought that was mate at the time, and the king just wanders away. And embarrassingly, guys, this took me like a minute to find this move. But I eventually got the mate on the board, and yeah, I really enjoyed this tournament. A few really complicated games towards the end there, especially Daniel playing some really good chess. Yeah, it was a great tournament. Everyone played way better than I expected. You know, a few people in the comments had been super humble, saying they're struggling with certain positions and things, and I was shocked at how good everyone was. Yeah, and yeah, I'll see you next time, guys. Subscribe.